Welcome to Unhinged Magi. So I'm back, guys. Today is just going to be a video with me today. Dan's got some other stuff he had to do this weekend, being Easter weekend and all, so I figured I would just make a video for you guys. So I hope your Easter weekend was fantastic. I hope you all got to do something awesome. I hope you all got to see some family, eat lots of chocolate, all that. And I have an interesting topic that I wanted to bring to your attention. Now, I fully expect when people see this video, there's going to be a spectrum of reactions. I think some people are going to agree probably in the comments and type in their agreement. And some people are possibly going to massively disagree, call me an idiot, things like that. So this is a bit of an opinion piece, but you know, people, I don't know, sometimes like to disagree. Sometimes they like to discuss. And so go ahead and feel free to disagree if you want to. But I'm definitely going to give you my opinion here. I actually believe that there is a paradigm shift that's happening right now in the Magic the Gathering collectibles world. And some of you are going to hear this and just say, oh, duh, of course this is the direction. And other people are just absolutely not going to see it, not going to agree. What I think is happening right now is I think in the last few years with Wizards of the Coast, completely proving that they're willing to like reprint pretty much anything that they have the right to reprint. And they're targeting every little card out there that has value and adding it back into other sets as like a chase card. I think basically nothing is safe. And the longer that that goes on, the less special everything becomes. And there are specific instances in time where they can actually make a reprint of a card special for one reason or another. But I even think most of the time those don't completely hold up. And I think as time goes on, the original prints will be the ones that actually go up in value. And the paradigm shift that I'm referring to is there was a large period of time, kind of like decades in between, where people might have looked at a newer printing of a card and thought that they might want that instead of like an original print. And I have some examples to actually show you guys. So the one that I'm going to show you first of all is I'm going to talk about Sol Ring here. First of all, you can see in this MTG Goldfish, I've searched up Sol Ring, and you can see that this has been printed in so many sets that we can't even list them all in one screen, right? All these different artworks, all these different versions, a lot of them in Commander, because it's, of course, you know, an amazing card in EDH and Commander. But the one specifically that I'm most interested in is I want to talk about this one right here, the Judge Foil. And I want to talk about it in comparison to the original printing here in Alpha and Beta. Now, what we have here is I've got a Beta Sol Ring pretty much called up, and I'm specifically looking at the advanced, and I'm looking at the sold auctions. So notice these are all saying sold here. And so what you see is you can see the price of a Beta Sol Ring is going for like $821 here, $856. Here is one that's just beat to heck, going for $390. Here's another one, Major Play has $660. Here's one calling out the fact that it's mint, going for just under $1,000. Here's another one that sold for $1,125. Here's a mint 9 for $1,425. You see some big prices, right? And this isn't beta. And then when you come over here and you look at these Judge foils, the Judge foils, again, this is sold, right? And this is near mint on this guy. And so $300 here, $300 here. I mean, there's some that are selling for higher prices, but this is the sold auctions. This is what they actually sold at, right? Now, the reason why I think that this is really important is because there was a long period of time when those Judge foils first came out, they were actually going for higher price than the betas. And I remember specifically having debates with people online saying, I don't believe this, guys. I think that the original betas are going to be worth more in the long run. And so I never made any effort whatsoever to go acquire one of these Judge foils. Now, to be clear, they are pretty rare. The Judge foils have the original art. They were only given to judges, so they have a provenance behind them that's pretty cool. So yeah, the original art in the newer card frame, which is definitely unique, and they are very rare. And there's probably less of them out there than there is of actual alphas and betas. However, I still believe that the actual betas were going to be actually worth more. And now you're actually seeing that proven out. You're seeing the entire community cycle back now to the alphas and betas, and they're finally bidding those prices up. And so it took a long time. For a while, those judges remained about the same price or even a little bit higher. But with the recent paradigm shift back over to the older cards, that trend has now broken, and I don't think it's ever going to reverse. And there's even some other versions. I'll click on these guys here. Right here, we've got, let's see. This is the Kaladesh ones. And the Kaladesh ones, as you can actually see here, I'm again looking at the sold auction. So here was a mint one that went for something under this. We don't know what that was, but here, look at these others that are probably in fantastic condition as well. And these are going for 350, 500, 650, 660. This is a pretty high one, 815. Now, very clearly, those are pretty good prices, but I think anyone can agree when somebody pulled these, a Kaladesh mint out of the pack. I mean, come on, guys, let's be honest about this. Nobody was going to pull one of those masterpieces out of a pack and just beat the crap out of it. All of those are in mint condition. So mint is not that special, right? Mint is actually special for alpha and beta because you don't see that very often. So even that one that was like selling as a graded 9, I bet went for a decent amount, like well below it. The point is, even the betas are completely above it. In fact, actually, let's go back over here to this page. I'll flip back over in a second, and I'm going to change this to Alpha Soul Ring Mint. Oh gosh, yeah, wait till you guys see this. Okay, so I just changed it over, and again, all I did is I just did an eBay search, Alpha Soul Ring Mint, and I clicked on the advanced, and so now we're looking at sold auctions. Here's an Alpha sold for $3,000, right? Here's one that's heavily played for $910. Here's another played one that was something under $1,500. Here, let's get revised out of there. So we say minus revised because we don't want to see those. That doesn't tell us anything. Oh, that's funny. It just removes all of them out of there. So anyways, it's harder to search them up, but you guys can easily do this kind of search. And what you see is, like, I bet all over the place, there's alphas. If they're high grade, high condition alphas, we're probably going between like $1,000 and $3,000. They're heavily sought after. And so you see this trend basically where people are shifting over. Now, I didn't actually even completely know if that was going to go towards other things for a while. And that's kind of been the question in my mind. Is this drive back towards original cards going to only be specific cards? Is it like case by case? Or is it going to be all of them overall? And as time is going on, I'm becoming more and more convinced that it is actually going to just keep expanding to like all cards in original print. And I'll show you another one here that actually describes that. If we go over to Islands, here's a limited edition Alpha Island. And you can see in the big run up in 2018, these got up to around a peak of like 70 to $100 a piece. I remember seeing that actual run up. Then they pulled back a little bit, and now they're finally starting to actually spike back up again. And so they're going for about like, 70, $80. But this is like just what MTG Goldfish is tracking. If there's one that's mint, I'm sure it's going to go well over $100, $200, $300. If there's like a BGS like 10 Alpha Island, right? Now, the thing is, though, when you look at these islands, you guys, it's Island. It's been printed in like almost everything. I mean, you look at the number of times this card has been printed. There's no lack of islands out there, right? But there is, so here's the other the other alpha version. There was the A and there's the B and there's even the C, but for some reason Goldfish doesn't have that. So even that one's going for 70. But there's all these low prices on all these, even though there are people that want those specific versions. Now, there is one exception to this. There is the Guru lands that do go for $1,000 each. And so right now, you're back in that kind of mode where people might be looking at it thinking, oh, well, the Guru lands are where it's basically at. I honestly think the alphas are even eventually going to surpass the Guru lands. I really do. Because the alphas were the original print. And just like there was the foil Soul Ring that took a long time for the alpha to surpass it, but it eventually did, and now it's destroyed its value, I think that the original alpha lands are going to eventually do the same thing. It's just, it might take a while though, because those guru lands are highly in demand. That's just my opinion. Not everyone's going to agree with that, and I understand. So you guys, you can go argue in the comments if you actually want to. I don't think there's a huge need for it. But then as I started looking around for like other cards, I started realizing that this was expanding now finally to other cards like around the spectrum of Magic printings. And so you'll see right here, I've actually got some cards down below. Let me minimize myself here so I can talk while you're looking at these cards. So these are, I just bought these Tarmogoyfs. In fact, like I mentioned it in a very recent video that I was going to go buy some original print Tarmogoyfs. And so this was actually my Easter present to myself. Thank you, Easter Bunny. So anyways, I did actually go buy original print Future Sight Tarmogoyfs. And the one fetch land that I didn't have in original Onslaught is I had all of mine are Onslaught except for Wooded Hills. I had one Wooded Hills that was from, I think, one of the newer sets. And so I went and got that last one. So now I have a full set of 40 Onslaught fetches. And this is, of course, this is my Beta Soul Ring that I bought, signed by Mark Tedin. Now, if you look at the price of all the Tarmogoyfs, you can see that the original print Tarmogoyfs do command a price premium over what the other printings of Tarmogoyf actually had. So I went ahead and grabbed these, and I think that these ones are going to have more future growth than any of the others, because the Wizards keeps reprinting them, and as they keep reprinting them, sure, you can have some cool foily ones, you can have some cool artwork, but at some point, I think it's going to circle back to the originals having the most value, and so I wanted my playset to be originals. And for the fetch lands, you're seeing the same kind of trend is now finally starting. In fact, I'm going to pull this up on the other screen while I'm talking to you. Let's see. Flooded Strand. So I'm going to pull up Onslaught Flooded Strand, and I'm not going to... Let's see, I want to let you, I can go ahead and keep myself here on the side. Okay, so I didn't want to look at the foils because the foils are kind of in a different category because they are even more rare. I kind of wanted to more compare the non-foils to the other reprint Flooded Strand non-foils. And what you've got here, if I slide this timeline back, they started going up in price fantastically, and they got all the way up like around like $100 way back here. And like you see on this, on the right here, it said like $90. But those flooded strands, they were going up because they were very needed in Legacy and Modern and other formats. But then Wizards started reprinting them, and you saw their value just get destroyed and like come way down. Well, you see what's happening here? You see this run up that's finally happening? This is what I'm describing. This is what I believe is the paradigm shift, where you basically have original print cards are the ones that people are finally going after again. And this thing that I'm describing about these cards being cheaper for a long time existed for quite a long time, but now it's finally happening. The price is finally going up on these like old original print cards in their original card frame and everything again. So I see that this is a trend that I'm starting to see extend out to all the non-reserve list cards as well. So as time goes on, as cards keep getting reprinted, in fact, just look at what you've got here on the side. Look at all these printings that basically had this card in it. It's been reprinted an awful lot of times. But what's special about this one is it is the original. And so I do believe that the trend going forward is going to be original print cards, unless there's like some very specific special circumstances, like, you know, the lands that I was just showing, the special guru lands that were going like well over $1,000. It's a very narrow case with a very specific set of reasons. Outside of those very specific exceptions, the general rule is people moving towards original print cards. And I think what's caused this is after the massive reprinting of modern cards and the massive reprinting of like anything else that's out there, and this focus on the reserve list and this focus on the original cards, I think the massive price appreciation of original cards, and people see it happening, has now created this halo effect, right? What generally happens in price movements is the most famous cards seem to go up first, and then the others start going up around it. It's kind of like you see like a big spike come out, and then it's like all the boats in the harbor start coming up as like, you know, the water starts coming up kind of thing, right? Like you originally started seeing like a Beta Lotus sold for like 25,000 years ago. And then like the dual lands were still cheap. Then eventually everything else starts coming up. And at some point people are like, gosh, I can trade 4 dual lands for an unlimited Lotus. This doesn't make sense. And then next thing you know, like that Lotus goes up again and like it starts to spike. So these things kind of like stair step and offset each other. And I think right now we're seeing the groundswell of original printings on like all these other cards that don't have like a massive supply of the original printings. They're all starting to come up. And so actually what I think is going to happen next, I think some of the big cards are going to start to spike again. I think we very conceivably could have a time where an unlimited Mox that's in like, you know, pretty nice condition, or at least LP, you can't get it for less than 10 grand. I think that might just be around the corner. That's extremely possible, because you look at the price of like other cards relative to like a Power 9 reserve list, most famous card out there, and like they're too close, right? It doesn't make any sense. And so these things are going to stair step each other. So I just wanted to lay that out there. This is my viewpoint. When I buy cards, this is the viewpoint I've had for a long time. I've mentioned in other videos that when I buy cards, I always attempt to go for the original print unless for some reason it's out of my budget at the time. And when I'm filtering cards out of my collection, I always filter out the new ones, and I always keep the oldest printings that I possibly can. This has always been the reason for it. But I feel like it's finally starting to manifest, and it's finally starting to grow. So there we go. That's my opinion. Curious to hear what everybody says about it. Go ahead and have your arguments below. Let's see what everybody says in the comments. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And oh, by the way, if you're interested, right before I go, if you're interested in buying any of these cards I'm talking about, original print cards, please consider going to TCG Player, and please do it through the link below in our video description. It won't cost you a penny more, and it shows your support for the channel, actually. You know, some of that, the profit from the vendor actually comes to us. So yeah, it's just same purchases you're already planning on doing. I'm not asking you to pay any more money, but it does support the channel, and we'd really appreciate that. So thanks a lot, everybody, and I'll see you in the comments. Bye.